this one.
Okay. So can you see it?
Can see, but better. Yeah, better. Now it's good. Thank you.
Okay, great. So first of all, it involves the definition of EPC+F. So in a narrow sense, the EPC+F can be understood as a situation when the EPC contractor also provide financing. But in a more broad sense, especially for like overseas projects undertaken by Chinese contractors, it actually means in all the ways that the contractor assists in providing financing. That could include equity financing, meaning the contractor can be an investor in a PPP projects, or a debt financing, meaning the contractor provide loans, but it's a very rare case, I think, especially for infrastructure projects. The third one could be a deferred payment. It's actually a debt financing, but it's just in a way that you have this EPC contract, but most of payment, except for the advance payment, the other payment will be paid upon completion of the projects. Then we also have this widely used mode for overseas project is the contractor to assist the owner to obtain financing, mostly from like the policy bank. Maybe using several of them. So we have different mode of EPC+F. So my introduction will cover those modes, but we're in a sequence that are mostly used by Chinese contractors. I think the choice of modes depends on various factors, such as the regulation requirements, the financial standards, financial standards of the stakeholders, like including the owners and contractors, and characteristic of the project. First of all, I would have an introduction of the domestic EPC+F infrastructure projects in China. We will see a trend of transition of different modes. So I will start with the traditional mode, the deferred payment or the BT mode, meaning the contractors, the EPC contractors, they sign a deferred payment EPC contract or a BT contract with the government. Then upon the completion of the project, then the government or the company invested by the government will pay the contractor. So traditionally, it's widely used in China, not only in infrastructure projects, but also other projects. Well, there is even back in 2004, the Supreme People's Court in China, they have this interpretation of construction contract, which specifically has a clause about deferred payment, how to deal with deferred payment contracts. Well, there's a famous project of that is the Beijing Subway Olympic Branch Line BT project. This project, as you can see, is divided into a BT part and the non-BT part. So the BT part, the total investment of which is about 1.1 billion, including the metro vehicles and communication and signaling system, while the non-BT part, with a total investment about 1.3 billion, is about land acquisition and other works. So this work started at 2005 in June, and the takeover and the transfer happened upon the completion in about 2006 September. So for this project, there is a BT contract. BT contract awarded to a contractor consortium leading by China Railway. And the consortium formed a project company named the Beijing China Railway Engineering Investment Management Corps. And the contractors and also other consortium members, they use a fund to invest in this project company and to build the whole project. And upon the completion and final acceptance, they transfer it back to the owner. And it happened right after the completion. So there's no operation, not like a normal PPP project, like a BOT project. There will be like 20 or 30 years operation. So I would say its main purpose for it is by the financing. Also, for BT project, there are also benefits like, the guarantee of the completion of the project. But basically, in the end, that the true project owner, they acquire the equity of the project company and to complete the transfer. Well, but later, I think especially for BT and deferred payment projects are not that popular or even kind of prohibited. I will explain later about the regulation part. So a new mode emerged, which is a PPP mode. In this famous PPP mode is Beijing Subway Line 4 PPP project. I think it's probably the first metro PPP project in China. So for this project, the private investor is MTR. MTR is actually the metro company in Hong Kong. Although technically they're not contractors, but this mode are widely used for many other projects. I think right now probably there are like more than 30 or 40 like metro projects using a similar mode. So it's a pioneer project. I will introduce it to show how it works. So in this project, the work also divided into two parts. The PPP part still is mainly the metro vehicles and communication signaling system and like other electric and mechanical part. And for the other part, the non-PPP part is the tunnel, station, structure, civil works, and other works. I think the way why doing that is for the civil work. For metro projects, they involved a lot of underground work, and also which is with high risk and very costly. So this part is taken care by the government invested companies. And the metro vehicles and communication part are for PPP. So this project commenced in 2004 and start commercial operation in 2009. They have an operation period of 30 years. So this is the structure of how a PPP project, a metro project in China works. That you can see the right side, there are several consortium members. They invest in this Beijing MTR Corporation Limited, who are responsible for the investment and construction of this Part B, and to get a 30-year operation period. I think it's very obvious that in a metro project, it is impossible to recover your investment from charging ticket fees. So in those PPP projects with equity financing, to recover your investment is also attached with like the revenue guarantee and also the development rights, like we call TOD, meaning you have the right to develop the facilities in the station, like advertisement, like you can have some stores or other business there, and also the development of relevant real estate, like those real estate above the station, to recover your investment. So why nowadays we see more and more PPP both in China, maybe like most of them are PPP projects. And why this is happening, I think first is the restrictions on the increasing of hidden debt of local government. Because if you use a deferred payment or a BT mode, then the local government will have debts on them. So especially for a huge project like metro or other infrastructure project, it will have a risk of increasing the debt of local government. And also, well, it's just several years ago, we have this government investment regulation, which actually has a prohibition of advance funding for government invested project, meaning the contractors, they do not advance fund for government invested project. That's, I think, partially is because they want to protect the contractors and the labor workers under them, and also another way to restrict debt of local government. And also there are some regulations changed. For the PPP mode, we have more and more regulations and the more systematically regulations and laws have been brought and launched. So people have more confidence in this PPP model. And also there is a stricter and more standardized regulation of bidding procedure. Because when contractors participate in those PPP projects, one of the major goal they want to achieve is to get the construction part of this project. But before that, remember all those projects, they're basically state funded or like using public fund projects. For those projects, you have to subject to opening tendering procedure. So meaning the contractor are not necessarily the one who get the construction project. But after some improvement of the regulation, now we have this 2-in-1 bidding process, meaning if the contractor is an investor of a PPP project company, they can have the right to the PPP project without those opening bidding process. So as for international EPC+F infrastructure outside China, we can see in those kind of projects, because it involves a huge amount of money, many policy financing instruments are used. Traditionally, the mode widely used is the export buyer's credit. This is an example. This artist Ababa Djibouti Railway. I think it's carried by China Railway Construction. In those huge projects, they basically use a way to assist the owner to obtain bank loan from Chinese bank. You can see in the structure, the Chinese contractor, they have an EPC contract or other kind of like EP contract with the local owner. So the Chinese contractor is the exporter. So they export Chinese technology and services outside China. So the policy or the commercial bank in China, they can support those kind of transactions. And they provide loan to the local owner. And meantime, they are supported by like the export buyer's credit insurance from Sinosure. So technically, in this mode, the local owner is the one to get loan from the Chinese bank, not the contractor. But still, we call it an EPC+F mode. And another mode is PPP projects serving as a equity financing investor in PPP project. For example, this Qatar Metro Line 1 project, which is carried by CCCC, China Communication Construction Company in China. And also they have a consortium member, I think it's Xi'an Metro, which is a Chinese operation service provider. And they form this project company to participate in the PPP project. But I think this mode is not as commonly seen as the previous mode. And the third mode used by Chinese contractors is an emerging mode we call deferred payment. But to be honest, for this deferred payment projects, I actually work on many of them recent years, but they're mostly for just based on my experience for like not like huge projects as metro projects, but more used in renewable energy projects like the solar, the wind, or the we also do like energy to waste projects. So in those projects, the Chinese contractor is actually the financing, serve as a real financing party, means they have a deferred payment contract with the local owner. The local owner will provide securities to the Chinese contractor to secure their deferred payment. It can be a corporate guarantee, a usance LC or other securities, sometimes like pledge of shares or other mortgages or securities. So in that situation, the Chinese contractor can further get insurance from Sinosure, like an export seller's insurance or specific contract insurance from Sinosure, to make sure that when the local owner failed to pay in the end of the project, the Sinosure will pay for them. And then use this security and this Sinosure insurance, they can get financing from their financial institution, like a loan or a receivable purchase agreement using a forfeiting arrangement. Well, my colleague will then give a more detailed introduction of the international EPC+F infrastructure project. I could just share a few my observations of why those trends of mode are happening. So I think the factors influencing the choice of mode in international projects, including first the regulation of outbound investment of foreign exchange, which makes as outbound investment, for example, as a PPP investor, is more difficult than using other financial mode. So you can see more financial mode like export buyer or export seller credit. The second is the feasibility of financing products to promote international projects, like the insurance from the Sinosure or the loans and other financing products from the Chinese bank. They're like supporting more and more of those overseas projects. And there are also the increasing competition in the international market because the competition is more fierce. So many owners will request the contractors to also obtain the financing for them or even by themselves. And then it's the type, scale, schedule, and cost requirements of the projects. For example, in the last slide, I talked about a deferred payment projects, when you can see in many renewable projects, because their schedule is short and their investment is relatively lower than like metro project. So they use a lot about this deferred payment mode, but maybe not that easy for metro projects. And then it's the owner's financial standards and other characteristics of the projects. Especially if you use a PPP mode, the problem is you need to make sure, as the investor, the contractor can actually recover their investment. That requires you can only maybe invest in countries like with stable political and social environment to make sure you have like 30 years to recover your investment. So this is my part. Then I will give the ground to my colleagues, Mr. Nan.
Okay.